The NASCAR Cup Series is the best form of racing in America. It has the most talented and skillful drivers you will ever see, but sometimes those drivers make stupid and idiotic mistakes. In this video, we're going to be looking over some of the biggest mistakes NASCAR drivers have ever made. Just like when Michael Waltrip's car broke loose in the bottom of the racetrack and he overcorrected into the outside wall in the dual race. This is one of the most untalented moments Michael Waltrip has ever had.
Out the pit road.
When he came up on the racetrack, the thing just jumped around with him.
During the Arca season championship finale race at Toledo Speedway, all Scott Speed had to do was get a great finish and he would be declared champion. Well, young driver Ricky Stenhouse had other things to say.
They are so concerned about how aggressive Stenhouse is behind him. Speed has actually talked on the radio about letting the 99 go around, and they make contact.
Speed into the wall hard, and that happened because Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was into the back of him. Let's see if he's able to continue on. A lot of damage to the right side of this race car. He needs to make his way on the...
Scott Speed was ultimately taken out of championship contention, and he wanted to make sure that Ricky Stenhouse also had zero shot at winning the championship. He then retaliated against Stenhouse, costing both of them a championship.
A little contact right there, a little... Oh, problem. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. around, and oh, by the way, that was the 2.
Yeah, well, there was no question there. That was a little bit of payback. A little bit of payback.
See that right rear of that forged glass as it bowed down?
Yeah, kind of where the jack, between the orange jack screw and the black lining, it's bowed from the right side of the jack screw over.
Yeah, right by the K. When he's up to speed, that thing pushes down about, I don't know, 2 inches, 3 inches.
I wouldn't necessarily say this was a big mistake on the 4 team's part because this ultimately won him the race, and it was a very clever way of bending the rules. Kevin Harvick's windshield would bow in down the straightaways and create extra downforce on the spoiler. Ultimately, Kevin Harvick would win Vegas, but have his win stripped away.
Going all at it right now. You race that hard this early on this racetrack, and you'll be lucky to get by with it 3 wide, Steve. That is aggressive contact.
Oh, Truex Jr. He's lost it. Takes Blaney up into the wall with him. 2 of the best cars in practice. I thought Blaney had the best long-run car.
I'm an idiot.
And here you heard him, I'm an idiot. Truex says he knows he made a mistake only 2 laps into the race. Truex 58 above the cut line. Mathematically not a guarantee, but I thought everything was going to be easy. This is an uphill battle already.
Only 3 laps into the Southern 500, and Martin Truex Jr. made one of the biggest mistakes of his racing career. He almost costed himself and his team a shot at the playoffs in 2024. He drove into turn number 1 side by side with William Byron. His car would drift up the racetrack and he would break loose. But what would happen next is something so dumb. He would overcorrect his car into Ryan Blaney, ending his day abruptly. Truex would have to wait and stand by for the entire race to make sure he still pointed his way in the playoffs. Luckily he did, but this could have been a huge detriment to the 19 team entering the playoffs.
There's Jeff Burton, who Benny talked to on the radio. Well, look at that slide there on the 10 car.
And the 97 car going around.
Busch in the wall, the defending series champion. Caution is out at New Hampshire.
It looked like the 10 car, Scott Riggs, got loose. He got loose, and he's trying to save it, and unfortunately, Kurt Busch was up on the high side, and he got tagged, and that was it.
You had a feeling this track would be very slick.
Well, it is. You know, there's no grip on the racetrack right now. The tire temperatures are cold. The tire pressures are down. So it is just like driving on ice. Until you get some heat in these tires and you get your pressures up, it's a hard place to drive, especially at the start of the race.
On board with Jeff Burton as he goes down the corner right behind the 2 cars. Riggs gets loose, goes up the hill trying to save his car, gets to the left rear of the 97.
There's Kurt Busch already out of his car.
And he's headed.
This was a giant mistake on Scott Riggs' part in the second ever chase. The first race of the chase, might we add, in 2005, he would get into reigning champion Kurt Busch and end his day early. With this being the first race in the chase, this ultimately hindered Kurt Busch's shot at winning another championship. Ultimately, this put him so far behind that he was never able to recover 9 races later to win another championship. Danica Patrick is forever known in NASCAR for being somebody who wrecked her car. A lot. But one thing she's probably more well known for is when she attempted to wreck Landon Castle. She drove extremely hard into turn number 1 trying to get to the back bumper of Landon Castle. She would successfully make contact until her own car would spin and she would overcorrect into the outside wall, ruining her car worse than Landon Castle.
Like gets clear there. And she gets in on the bumper, but just doesn't get off of him. And right there's where you're talking, and you just turn it left and lock it down.
And she had a chance to not go up hit that wall if she just stayed on the brakes and kept it down there. It's like she's trying to save it, just kept driving it until it hooked to the right.
Yeah, at that point right there is whenever you should just, as a driver, realize that this is a spin, lock it down, and you can come get 4 tires. And that's the kind of things that you'll have to learn with these cars.
So watching that leads me to believe there's something earlier that happened.
This dude right here is getting awful brave. Still going to be down there. You're clear of him. Nice and smooth here. Easy, easy, easy. Just keep it off the wall.
Yeah, she certainly seemed to go in there with a purpose into the corner of at least sending a little bit of a message, but ended up getting the worst end of it.
This was earlier in the race.
Oh, yeah, a little history. Now we know the rest of the story.
All right, Jamie.
Well, as you saw there, the two of them working their way through the field together. Danica started in the very back. She was complaining about Landon throughout the race, and when this happened, Greg Zipadelli, her crew chief, came on the radio and said, "You know better than to do that." So obviously he saw her at fault there. You see her now sitting in the garage trying to repair that 10 car.
This is after the checkers. That was Junior who hit Kyle Larson and set that off, it looks like.
Oh, that was a hard lick right there for Ryan Reed.
Dale Jr. is a NASCAR legend and icon. There will never be another driver like Dale Earnhardt Jr., but even he made some dumb mistakes, just like in 2014 when he wrecked the field after the race, and then when he drove into the grass at Texas that same year, ruining his shot at even a race. It was so early on, he damaged his race car completely, it caught on fire, and this was disastrous for the 88 team.
42, got a little out of the groove there. Clear by 2 of the 48, 1 out of the 42. Stay low.
I think he was behind that car and he couldn't see, and I think when he went to the inside, he clipped the, clipped the grass.
There's a lot of grass and mud on the nose of Jimmy Johnson, the 48 team. I just think even if the grass was dry, with these cars being on the ground so low, I don't think you can clip that grass like you used to.
Wow, did that push back the Lexan windshield and everything? I think that left front corner, that nose looks pretty heavily damaged.
Well, look how bad it bent that windshield bracket. If he's got problems with the windshield and the left side of the nose.
Now let's look from Eric Almirola.
Let's see what happens here. He goes down. Yeah, he just... Man, look how high that car went into the air. And, of course, you're running right at 200 miles an hour right there.